Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah, it's a really good catchphrase, but I'm curious as to the situation that you developed that in. Like, what made you think, okay, I'm gonna come up with a catchphrase. I'm gonna say good morning, and then because I don't think I'm gonna see them, I'm gonna say all the rest of them, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Like, I don't get that. Where does that come in? Because if I could somehow bottle that catchphrase juice, I'd totally use it myself. There we go. The psychology, where psychology meets film. I like that. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Cinema Psych Podcast, the podcast where psychology meets film. I am your host, Dr. Alex Swan, and today's episode, we are going to delve into the early workings of what probably was the beginning of the reality TV movement. That's right, we're going to be talking about The Truman Show. Film came out in 1998. Yeah, of course, some reality TV shows had been on the air before that. Real World and Road Rules on MTV. But honestly, this is like the intro to the last 20-some years of watching people be themselves, I suppose. But there is one big difference. The Truman Show is about a guy who has no idea that he's being watched. And this film watches him, and we watch him in this film, sort of a meta watching of somebody watching. In any case, we watch him realize that his life is a bit fake, we'll say. Just a bit fake. The film stars Jim Carrey as the eponymous Truman Burbank, and some other big names are in here. Ed Harris plays Christoph, who we'll be referring to quite a bit. He is the creator and executive producer, director. I'm sure writer. I'm sure he has all of the hats for the Truman Show. Specifically, Laura Linney plays Truman's wife Meryl. Noah Emmerich plays his best friend Marlon. Natasha McAlone, I think that's how you say it. I'm not very good sometimes with Scottish names, but or Irish names. But she plays Lauren, the sort of person that is the impetus for all of the thinking in Truman's head that this isn't real. And then a couple of other big names appear in very small roles. I was surprised as I rewatched this. I've probably seen it maybe 3 or 4 times, but it has been a while since I've seen it. I was surprised to see Paul Giamatti as a guy with a few lines. He plays the director, or at least the control room director. I was surprised to see him, but there he is. So, this film has been a staple, I think, in Jim Carrey's career, and we are going to explore this in our episode. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that the podcast, as I think I've mentioned in maybe 1 or 2 episodes previously, the podcast was granted a small amount of money from the Society for the Teaching of Psychology, APA Division II. So we have been supported by organizations. So we have made it, y'all. We have made it. And with that, let's jump in to this film discussion, the psychology of The Truman Show. My guest host today is Mehwish Safdar. Now, this is a bit of an interesting guest because she is not a professor or an instructor of psychology. She's actually a psychology undergraduate. And I wanted to do this special episode because she cold emailed me, well, through Dr. Ellen Carpenter at Virginia Commonwealth, cold emailed and was like, hey, I'm interested in talking about movies and psychology. And I thought to myself, now that's a go-getter. So if she wants to be on the show, and you're going to love it. Mehwish is a junior at Virginia Commonwealth University, studying psychology and sociology, which is an awesome combo. Really perfect combo, especially with our conversation today. She enjoys film. I mean, that's a bit of a no-brainer if she's going to be on the show, right? And finding the psychology in those films. So, Mehwish, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And also a shout out to Dr. Ellen Carpenter for introducing me to you, which led me to this opportunity. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. Great. Well, I am happy to have you on. And so, as I do with all my guests, regardless of who they are, I first want to ask you about film. As your intro bio said, you enjoy film. So let's talk about that. What do you love about movies? What draws you to films? And is there anything that you just have to sigh and roll your eyes about it?
Well, first of all, who doesn't love film?
I know a few people.
Wow.
Real.
Wow. But I love observing people and figuring out why they act the way they act and why they are the way they are. Film gives good examples with psychology and sociology.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, right? Because I just saw a lot of it in movies, and so I just wanted to keep watching more and more and more. So yeah, I share that perspective and love with you. Okay. So how many of your professors do assign movies in their classes?
Wow, I don't think any of them have.
You're going to put VCU on blast? Yeah.
I don't think any of them have.
Oh, VCU professors. I mean, you're missing an opportunity. You have at least one student, and I don't know how big the major is, but you have at least one student, and that is one too many, who are asking, nay, demanding that you get some films in your classes.
I could start it.
Do you agree, Mehwish? You want to start a petition? Okay. They can hire me. It's
Perfect.
Fine. No, just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so let's move on to our current movie that we're going to talk about. And it's a fun one. It's The Truman Show. Film came out in 1998. Probably Jim Carrey's first foray into drama. And so what made you decide this film in particular?
Well, I was looking through which film could be used for this podcast that fits psychology. And when people first think of psychology in film, they think of the obvious ones like Sons of the Lambs, A Clockwork Orange, stuff like that. And The Truman Show isn't the first thing that comes to their mind, but
I didn't think of it.
But it makes so much sense. It's all psychology. It's manipulation.
It's basically what film did you equate it to?
It's basically the PG version of 1984.
That's an interesting. And you've seen 1984?
No, I've read the book.
Oh, you've read the book. Okay, now I get it. So I see where you're going with it. I like that. Okay. Well, that's good. I completely miffed on including this. And I think it's probably because I hadn't seen the movie in a while. Probably going on 10 or more years, maybe. And so it wasn't on my radar at all as a psych film. But, you know, when I saw it on your list, I was like, oh my God, I am such a dummy. She's 100% right. And so I saw that and I said, okay, we got to do that one because A, I love the movie. B, I love Jim Carrey. And C, it's got Psych all over in it. And it was awesome to actually rewatch the movie with that lens because I want to say that the last time I had seen it was probably at least graduate school. So pre 2009. So I actually got to watch it with a new set of lenses. So I want to thank you for that because that's all what I tell my students. I say, even if we pick a popular movie like Inside Out or something like that, they've probably seen the movie and they're like, okay, you've seen Inside Out, but stay with me because you're going to watch it with the new lens. You're going to watch it with the Psych lens. So perfect pick. So I want to give you the floor first on the strongest one, the strongest concept that you pull from the film. What would be your 30-second spot? Mehwish, you're on the spot. Give me a Psych concept from the Truman Show. Ready, go.
The conformity. It's all
conformity. Okay.
It's like the whole entire movie is that because the way the actors have to act, they're just conforming to a perfect society that doesn't exist, I guess.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
The media and the government play a really big role in the show, The Truman Show. And I thought it was really interesting how throughout the show, they were advertising products. And even in one of the interviews, Christoph said that all of the products everything in the show was on sale.
Yeah, it was on sale. And he said that that there are no ads. And so they have to pay for the show through these direct product placements, which I thought was more an omen now in hindsight. Christoph was telling us something in 1998. He sure was. Okay, so conformity, the biggest idea coming out of your mind. Okay. Now, what I would say is the biggest thing in my mind is actually the ethics of the entire plot of the movie, right? So Truman was born and essentially sold into the custody of somebody. And he was raised in this closed environment, and he was the only true man. That's what the name Truman is, because he's the only true person in there. So basically, a baby is born, sold, and given given to the custody of a quite a strange person. Christoph wanted to play God in some manner of speaking.
Say something, goddammit! You're on television! You're live to the whole world!
In case I don't see you,
this is a perfect movie to talk about ethics without actually having to reference anything that is real. Like, have you discussed the past ethical issues of psychology, Mehwish?
No.
Haven't gotten there yet?
No.
So, humans have been really mean to each other over the course of human history. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. And the study of psychology has honestly been not very different. And so one thing that you could do with this is not actually have to, of course, you'd want to present what the ethical issues are or were from real life, but this offers a window into a hypothetical situation that has tangible things that you can associate with it. And so, ultimately, everyone, I think, would agree that this is an unethical thing that Christoph is doing, and somehow the world is okay with it.
Yeah. No, that's so true. That it's disturbing because they're so into it, and they know that if it was them, they would not like it. So why are they enjoying it if it's somebody else?
Right. Yeah. It's very it's really voyeuristic, right? You would have to consider how voyeuristic society had become just by this show. And I know we watch a ton of reality TV. Reality TV has been a very dominant force in television over the last 23, 24 years since the movie came out. But those people are, at least they know what they're doing. And they know what they're getting into. So it's not really a good analogy because Truman was never new. I was reading in an alternate draft of the script. It was going to be far darker. Is when he walks through the sky at the end of the dome and he gives his bow and he says, his catchphrase, and then he walks out and then the movie ends. They were going to actually show a ton of people cast and Christoph and on the ledge of some sort out that door. And it was gonna be all heartwarming, except Truman was gonna be all ragey, and he was gonna try to choke and suffocate Christoph for what he had done. Yeah. So that's how the movie would have ended had they gone the darker route.
Wow, I always wondered what would have happened on the other side of the door, because we saw Sylvia running down the stairs, and I wanted to see what would happen.
Yeah. It was somewhat poignant, but of course the voyeur in us ultimately unsatisfying ending, but it's perfect because we no longer get to watch Truman now that he's not on the set anymore.
Yeah.
Our voyeurism of Truman is done. He's no longer camera ready. We don't get to see anymore.
It's true.
So what's your next big psych concept that you spotted in this movie?
Oh, I found that when they staged Truman's father's death, that was a form of classical conditioning.
Yeah. So if it is classical conditioning, explain to the listeners here what it acts as the conditioning apparatus.
The death of his father is the unconditioned stimulus.
Mm-hmm.
Truman's response of fear was the unconditioned response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the association of water with the unconditioned stimulus, that water then becomes a conditioned stimulus that produces the conditioned response.
That was
fear in Truman.
Very good. Yeah, that is absolutely right. And when that occurs, we get the specific form called fear conditioning, because this is obviously the fear, and this is how many phobias are born. And yeah, I did spot that in the film too. So well done on the tracing there of all of the pieces. So any other things you noticed?
When he overcome his fear, that was extinction.
Yeah.
When he was trying to get to his to the wall, the end.
Yeah, he was, I guess, trying to see what was going to be at the end. But yeah, he ultimately hits a wall. Right. Yeah, that's very good. I was reading more of the trivia because I just can't get enough of it. I was reading that the return of Truman's dead father basically caused the extinction in a sense, because the thing that was the thing that was causing the phobia, the one-time connection of the death of his father to the water, was no longer there. That he no longer had to fear the water because his dad was alive, and because they wrote that back into the show. First, it was a break-in. Then they had to write him back into the show because Truman already knew that it was his dad, and he wasn't going to let it go.
Yep. I found him for you, Truman. That's why I came by tonight. Sure, he's got quite a story to tell. Go to him.
Easy on the fog. Stand by Crane Cam. Crane Cam. Button Cam 3.
I never stopped believing.
And wide. Curb Cam 8.
My son. Oh.
Move in for a close-up.
No. Back. Fade up music. And now go close.
Years wasted. I'll make it up to you, son. I swear. Dad.
So, that's a good catch. That's a good catch.
And he wasn't really scared of water. He was just scared of the sea because he could drink water.
Yeah, right. It was more of it being a transportation medium, right? To go on a boat. Right. It was specifically the choppy waters. Yeah. And yeah, right. It did not generalize to other forms of water. How rough would that be? I can't drink this water. That would be quite interesting. But you're right. It's extinction immediately because he ends up and I would be surprised if there were any spontaneous recovery of that. Because again, the only stimulus was his father's death, drowning.
That's true, yeah.
So that would be that would be interesting. Okay. And I had spotted that one too. The other thing that I noticed as well is he had a fear of dogs, and that is because when he was a kid, they purposefully sicked the neighborhood animals on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that in the movie?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you see it very briefly that when he's a kid, they essentially allow the dogs. They train the dogs to jump on him.
Wow.
And they probably did that for a long time while he was a kid. Did it with maybe slightly larger than him dogs, when he was a toddler, an infant and toddler, and then as he got bigger and bigger and bigger, the dogs seemed to stay the same size. But at least I think the dog in the beginning of the movie is a Dalmatian.
I think it was.
So I mean, the dogs are getting bigger as he's getting older. But yeah, that's one thing that I spotted, which is kind of funny because on the previous episode we did Awakenings, and Dr. Sayer in that movie is afraid of dogs. So I thought that was interesting. The two back-to-back films on the show have a nervously awkward dude being afraid of dogs. Quite the connection there. So the other thing that I thought was interesting in the movie was fame. That this TV show has been going on for 30 years almost. Somebody worked out the math using the fact that the movie starts on day 10,909 or something like that. They worked out when Truman was born and everything. And with other information. So I thought that was really cool. But, this thing's been going on for 30 years. The biggest phenomenon on the planet. You could see it from space. And the interesting thing is one of the slogans, and I would imagine an unofficial slogan for the movie was, do it for him or protect him or something like that. And Christoph's fame and just keeping the charade going, leads him to ignore his mantra or something like that. The execs obviously didn't help. The TV execs, the network execs obviously didn't help. They were like, we gotta do this. The fact that the father was written off the show, but broke in to see him again and be a part of the show, you have to wonder, okay, was he doing it for Truman or was he doing it for himself? The fact that these people can keep up this lie to be a part of this show. Oh, maybe Truman will interact with me today. Oh my God, I have to interact with Truman today. Like the bus drivers or the bus driver or then the boat driver couldn't drive the boat or drive the bus because he doesn't interact with Truman. So this behemoth became, a 2008 moniker, a slogan, which was too big to fail. The show was too big to fail. And fame just covered people's eyes because they're like, I'm going to be on the Truman Show.
And famous, it's just crazy that that's just what Christoph was after the whole time. And the lines that he would cross just to stay famous.
Just to stay relevant, yeah. He makes the comment as the storm is going on and they're trying to have Truman row back to shore. He's like, no, you're gonna see him die on TV then, or something to that effect. First time I saw it, it was very jarring. Like, oh, he actually wants to see the thing through so organically that he's willing to have commit manslaughter, basically.
Yeah, just to keep that money.
Just to keep something going, maybe just the own bloated ego. So very narcissistic, this Christoph. Yes. Because not only does he want to see his vision go through, he wants Truman to know what he did for him, how he did it, which is so godlike. Delusions of Deus.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, what really got me was the end when I watched it carefully, that all of that never mattered. I'm not sure, this is not really the bystander effect, but I guess it's similar to that the two guys I don't know if they were policemen or not, but when the show was over, they were just like, okay, what else is on? Like, it was never relevant. It was, they don't understand how big of a deal this actually is, that this is someone's life,
Yeah.
but it's just a show to them.
That's a good point. It's a good point. I didn't actually think of the viewers in that way, or the off the cuff. Is there anything else on? That
And
is a very interesting point.
Christoph is like he's so into keeping the show running, but the viewers really could care less.
I wonder if they would change the channel, or if they do care. I mean, there were what appeared to be devotees. The guy who was getting all pruny in the bathtub the entire time. He was in that bath for a long time.
Yeah, it was.
It's strange. It really is. But that's a good point. I like it.
Yeah, that really creeped me out.
What else? What else did you spot in the movie?
I found that the whole movie is an example of reciprocal determinism.
Wow. Okay. What is that? I actually don't know what that is.
I remember learning about it in Dr. Carpenter's class. I hope she's proud of me.
I'm sure she will be.
It's when a person changes because of their behavior, the environment, and other certain factors.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, in the beginning of the movie, when everything was normal for Truman, he acted normal, the environment was normal,
mm-hmm.
right? And there was no suspicious thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But then when something abnormal occurred, like, it started with the light falling down, and then
mm-hmm.
yeah, people just acting weird. He started having suspicious thoughts, then he started acting abnormally.
Oh,
It's like a triangle.
Okay, yeah, I dig it. I dig it. Of course, the only thing that pulled him out of the normality was, the light falling and then him seeing his dad. Which I guess what we don't know in that reciprocal determinism triangle is what other suspicious things has he come across? What other abnormal things have occurred that came prior to us being inserted in that situation? Because it could be a lot of little things, or it could just have been the one light. But of course, we learn later that Sylvia was one of them. Yeah, I like that. It is a good example of reciprocal determinism. I'm trying to think now of other movies that would fit that bill, because that would be a nice crop. I'll have to noodle on that one. Yeah, it's a good catch. Good catch. I don't think I would have caught that had I even thought about. But it's good to have a term now for something that I've noticed in things before. Yeah. Okay. I like it.
It makes me wonder about the end when he walks out of the door. I mean, obviously the whole thing is traumatic for him.
Yeah.
So would it all be, since it's all over, would he still act normally, or will he have trust issues? I don't know. Something will be happening. If he doesn't act normal, then obviously this reciprocal determinism is imbalanced.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I love that point. Mehwish, that was excellent point, because I definitely do appreciate the speculation about what happens at the end, what becomes of Truman. So that is a wonderful point, and we'll get back into a little bit more on this. We're gonna take a quick break, so stay with us. Hey, listener. Thanks for sticking around this episode. I hope you're enjoying it. Anyway, I need your help in growing this podcast's audience. In past episodes, I've asked you to share this podcast with 5 of your friends. Let's keep doing that. Share this podcast on social media, especially if you really liked an episode. Share that episode. Tell 5 of your friends or family if they have an interest in film or psychology, or even better, both. Growing the audience is our goal for the second year of programming, And so we need your help to get that done. Other ways to contribute to the podcast include tips to our PayPal, found on our website, becoming a patron at patreon.com/cinemapsychpod, rocking some sweet merch from our Spreadshirt shop, and or leaving us a rating or review on your favorite podcast service. Now back to the show. And we are back with Mehwish Safdar, a junior undergraduate psychology and sociology major at Virginia Commonwealth University. We are talking about the Truman Show, and we have a couple more thoughts on it. So we're going to jump right in. So Mehwish, you had one more big concept before we get into the last one that we were talking about. You had another concept. Share with the listeners what that last concept that you found was.
So one of the things I found was the frustration aggression principle.
Okay.
That Truman shows that's when you're so frustrated that you start projecting your frustration and aggression onto anything else. And Truman shows that when he was picking up Meryl from the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and he was kind of going crazy with the driving and stuff.
Yeah.
And that freaked her out so much because he was so frustrated.
And so what does that lead to in his mind there? What common theme do you get from him holding in his frustration and then it
The
bursting?
common theme?
Yeah.
The common theme throughout the whole thing is fear.
Okay. Fear, yeah. I mean, we talked about it just a little bit ago, that, he's got this fear conditioned response toward water. But I think they use it in quite a bit of a dastardly way, right? So they're manipulating him at every turn. And so no wonder he would get frustrated and lash out at the person next to him, which is either Meryl or his friend Marlon. It's because they're manipulating him. They want he's essentially a one of those. I have this image in my mind of something in a box, but as soon as it gets close to the box, it turns in a 90-degree right or left or something like that. Or it was a video game. I'm having weird mental images of something like that. He's essentially Pac-Man, and they're the walls of the maze are guiding his directions, and where the walls are the manipulations that they make him travel in. It's oh nope, we don't want him going too far out of town. So we'll say that the bridge has repairs or whatever. Or, when they get even farther out of town after he's trying to flee with Meryl or kidnap her in the case of what was actually happening. They have the, and that fire line, that was a weak fire line. I'll tell you what. But then the nuclear disaster that he just runs out of the car, runs straight through, not caring that these guys are in hazmat suits and whatnot. He gets all of these roadblocks because they want him to go in a certain direction. Finally, they get him back into town. But even what you were talking about earlier with the light falling and that being out of the ordinary, which draws him out of his normalcy. Even that light falling is explained away with crazy weather balloons or weather data satellite or something or other falling out of the sky. But it wouldn't have smashed like that if it was falling out of the sky. It would have disintegrated and made a much larger hole in the ground.
Yeah, and that made me they really could have done so much better at explaining things. they thought of such good ways to prevent him from leaving with Meryl, right? But that scene with the elevator, they didn't do anything. They couldn't think of anything
Right.
good.
Oh, we're doing some work.
And if they really wanted to control him and wanted to prevent him from leaving, why did they educate him on such things?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Why go to the trouble of making him just a super smart dude in all forms, and then he's not gonna end up questioning his.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's even a bigger, broader point that you bring up, which is, the idea that the reason why ruthless dictators break the education system is because they don't want people to rise up, because educated people fight the power of some.
Yeah.
Education is
1984.
the evil of the dictator, the despot. And we know that Christoph does not, as Truman's creator, want to give that up. Right?
Yeah.
So that is a good grab there. I really like that. So we have this manipulation of his reality, and so the last thing that I wanted to add before our big one, the big psych one, that is really fun. I wanted to mention the idea of reality, which is going to lead into the last concept we'll talk about. That Christoph says during the interview, which is where we get some background about him as well as the creation of the Truman Show. He says during the interview that reality is what we make of it.
Bored with watching actors give us phony emotions. We're tired of pyrotechnics and special effects. While the world he inhabits is, in some respects, counterfeit, there's nothing fake about Truman himself. No scripts, no cue cards. It isn't always Shakespeare, but it's genuine. It's a life.
Well, for me, there is no difference between a private life and a public life. My life is my life, is the Truman Show. The Truman Show is a lifestyle. It's a noble life. It is a truly blessed life.
It's all true. It's all real. Nothing here is fake. Nothing you see on this show is fake. It's merely controlled.
So I thought that was really important because it goes along with our conditioning that we were talking about. Essentially, Christoph and the producers of the show have conditioned a human being much in the same way that John Watson talked about how he could condition people. I will spare you reading the quote on the episode here, but suffice it to say, he said that he could, and I'll paraphrase, that he could give him 10 babies, and I can condition them to be whatever I want them to be. And he names a really bad profession versus a really good profession. And he always, to the day he died, would believe that he could shape anybody with conditioning techniques, classical conditioning techniques, not even operant conditioning techniques at the moment, at the time, because Watson preceded operant conditioning in its current form. So yeah, it was classical conditioning that he thought he could do this. And so the idea is Christoph could shape Truman's reality. But then there's another kind of reality thing, is like, wait, what is real? And we were talking about this with respect to, you know, Truman out of the dome. Who can he trust?
Yeah.
But Mehwish, there's even a bigger psychiatric / psychological issue. So what was your big fun find here?
So I found that there's a thing called the Truman Show delusion.
Yeah,
Or
wow.
yeah, the Truman Show delusion. And that's when people believe that they are being watched.
Mm-hmm. In specifically like a TV show or reality show fashion, yeah.
Yeah, they think that everything is scripted, that there's no privacy in their life. The opposite of this movie, but it's cool that this is a thing.
I mean, not cool for the people who have it, of course. Let's but it is a rather interesting it is a rather interesting disorder. You found an article on this. So what was that article about?
The article was explaining more about this and how I think the person who found this delusion, they named it because of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not really an official thing. Like, we can't say it's a disorder.
Right.
It's not official.
Yeah,
but,
it's not in the DSM.
Yeah. But it leads to them being diagnosed with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, right? Because one of the main positive symptoms to schizophrenia, which is one of the more common psychotic disorders, you know, this break from reality that overlays all psychotic disorders. But one of the more common positive symptoms are delusions, and these are false beliefs. Those aren't, you know, not to be confused with hallucinations, you know, not seeing or hearing or seeing things that are not there. These delusions represent a belief about something. And so as Mehwish pointed out, you know, they think they're being filmed constantly, and all of their interactions aren't real. And so it makes a lot of sense that this is associated with schizophrenia. I was surprised that it's associated with also bipolar disorder diagnoses. But I guess now that I think about it, mania could lead to thinking those delusions are real.
It makes me think if movies make people feel like they have some type of disorder.
Yeah, I wonder if it is relegated to a certain kind of plausible movie, right? It's plausible that this could happen. I mean, say for the ethical issues that I mentioned in the first segment, it's plausible that a thing like the Truman Show could occur. I mean, already out were reality shows like the Truman Show, were reality shows like Road Rules and the Real World. I blanked on the second part of the name. So we got the Real World and the Road Rules, which were two popular, I would imagine, popular reality shows even before the Truman Show came out. So it's plausible that this thing could happen. So the delusion does strike me as it plausible itself, because the show looked like it worked.
Yeah.
Like, imagine walking around and thinking like every dark oval shaped object in your vicinity is a a camera, or for real, the cameras that are pretty much at every intersection now.
Yeah. There's one like in his radio. There's one in his bathroom mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just glad this movie was PG.
Yeah, that would have been a lot different movie had they increased it. And they increased the level of intensity there. Imagine Meryl dead. Just like stabbed in the neck with a product that she Stanley scissors. Get him at your local store. And you just see her stabbed in the neck in the kitchen with Stanley scissors in her neck. You do that one more time, I'm going to stab you in the neck with those scissors. And she did it one more time. So regardless of that lighthearted bit there, I did want to end the discussion on Truman Show with a little bit of famous scenage. So, Mehwish, what is your favorite scene from the movie and why?
The ending. I love the ending so much.
So in your mind, when does the ending begin?
When he's climbing the stairs, that iconic scene.
Okay.
And then he's at the top, and then he hears a voice from the sky, and this made me think of that part through a religious perspective, because that when the camera showed the sky with the clouds and the sun through the clouds, and then it's Christoph's voice, it's like God.
Yeah.
And Truman doesn't have an idea of who the director of the show is. He doesn't know how he looks like at all. So I know he thinks that that's God. And to me, that seemed like, have you seen The Prince of Egypt?
The animated DreamWorks animated? Yeah.
It seemed like that scene when Moses went to the cave and talked to God. That's what it looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because Christoph was like, I am the director of the show. I mean, I'm the creator of the show and everything around you.
Yeah.
And I really loved that part at the end when Truman was like listening to everything that Christoph said, and Christoph's getting really emotional, saying, this world is so good and so perfect, and I made it just for you. You don't want to go outside of this world because it's cruel or something like that. And then Truman was like, and if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And it's like he's rejecting religion.
Oh, wow. I totally see it now. This is wonderful. That is so brilliant, because Christoph is God, Truman is man, true man. And Sea Haven represents Eden.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And it's after, he gives the whole spiel like, hey, don't touch my stuff. My stuff is just on that tree. You can touch everything else. Just don't touch my stuff. That is the rejection there. I mean, it was obviously the analogy breaks down a little bit right there, but you see where I'm going with that, right?
Yeah.
But it's the rejection of that, and basically the end of that story, which is they had to leave, right? That's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
So I have to follow that up. Oh my God. My favorite scene. Let me have a think about this, because I've just been lost in yours now. My favorite scene actually is, and I can differentiate. I do love the ending, just like you. But I think what I'll say as my favorite scene is the Trumania.
Simeon. Wow.
Is he looking at us?
Jesus, do you think he knows?
Hello?
Better call Christoph.
Hello? Come in, Major Burbank.
He's back to his old self.
Oh my God.
That's an unusual cat, my man.
I hereby proclaim this planet Trumania of the Burbank Galaxy.
Okay.
Gonna go?
Hallway camera ready.
What it turned out to be was an extended just riff from Jim Carrey. Completely, I don't know if it was completely ad-libbed, but it was ad-libbed enough. It was all improvised by him just staring at that mirror with the camera behind it and him drawing the
That was fun.
yeah, and him talking about Trumania and what it is, and it was a poignant scene because it was essentially Truman going, I get it now. I understand everything. And right after that is the whole he's gone and we need to find him and all of that stuff. So that was his, and because he ends it with that one was free. So the rest of the movie is his escape. So he understands it now. He completely he gets it. So that's my favorite scene, Trumania.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that scene freaked the people out too. They were like, "Wait."
Yeah. I'm gonna rewatch it again, but I'm pretty sure that's what I grabbed from it. Him just saying deuces, and that was it. It's a great little speech too. So that's it. But I honestly, the end is up there too. So for me, they are on the level there. I want to thank Mehwish Safdar for joining me to discuss The Truman Show. Before we say goodbye, Mehwish, is there anything that you would like to plug, like your future goals, aspirations? So if you have a site, if you have your socials on there, you can add those, and yeah, let us know what you're planning to do.
So I am planning on getting to grad school and becoming
Wonderful.
a clinical child psychologist.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I heard of this thing called cinema therapy.
Okay.
That I might use in my practice.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, by letting the it's kind of like bibliotherapy.
Sure.
Where they make the patient relate to the book, and with kids they could easily relate to a character in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it's better because it's a visual. Yeah.
Right. Always better with pictures. And your socials?
Yeah, so if you want, you can follow me on Instagram at mxhwishhhh. You can follow me on Twitter, Mehwish Safdar too, and Letterboxd, Mehwish Safdar.
Nice. I don't even know what that is. But
what?
No, I mean there are too many things. Too many things. I can't. Maybe I'll look it up later. But I want to thank you again, Mehwish.
Thank you.
That's gonna do it for this episode. Until the next time, Thanks for listening.